welcome everyone to the first proper event at the Museum of Wisdom, Mystery and Magic. Yeah, from having these parties, I've learned a few health and safety issues. You know, from like people setting themselves on fire and stuff. Yeah, see, chuck another log on the fire as well, and it goes out and stuff. Yeah, and like having candles at the wrong level, and it's happened. People have tended to set themselves on fire, or bang their heads, or go flying off the end of a bench that was built wrong. So I've tried to iron out all the kind of hazards like that. But there are still some hazards because we're still not like properly wired up and everything. So there's a lead down here, like, you just got to like watch the. I'll try and up a bit better. Yeah, but luckily the leads kind of get buried in the floor. They just went into the gaps. So one of the things that I built into this place as I was building it, underneath this kind of this circular patio, which you can't see at the moment, there's another patio, which was a grid of 6x6 paving stones. And so I used the opportunity to write the magic square of the sun on it. So we're kind of all sitting on this kind of numerical grid of the 6x6 magic square of the sun. You know, the numbers 1 to 36, adding up to 666. So that's kind of embedded in the place. But I'm honoured to have Jamie here because that's it's lovely that you can put on a little show for people that you admire so much and stuff like that. So. And then I've got my own thing, which I've kind of been, which has kind of kept me really happy, looking into numbers. And so I've got, a couple of things for you tonight. So one of them is something that a lot of you might have seen before, and it's called the Tower of Time. And it just comes from, who's seen the Tower of Time? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, Jamie's seen it. So it's about half of you have seen it, I think. So I
have seen it.
You've seen it, yeah. Well, I'll just go through it again, and then we're going to go on to something which I called, well, I didn't actually call it that because I used my pendulum to Ouija board the name of it, as I used to do with a lot of, well, I put the pendulum down for a bit, but the pendulum called it the Cube Seal, and the pendulum also said my name was Futurius.
Wow.
So yeah, tonight and maybe forever, when I'm on this stage, I will be known as Futurius. Welcome, people. I'm back in this earthly suit.
Back from Futurious.
Futurious, yeah. So I discovered, I had a bit of a revelation with numbers through music because, I started tuning to 432 hertz, and then that kind of like was a bit of a revelation for me because it felt very different to tune a bit lower. And then I noticed that a lot of the frequencies, they all added up to 9, like 432 adds up to 9. Of course, the lower octaves, 216, and I noticed that happened, if you go into a certain tuning on an iPhone app, it's all thanks to iPhone and all this, that I found all this, really, because without this app telling me exactly what number a frequency is, I would never have gone down this path. So you put it into a temperament called Pythagorean just, and that is where the intervals are like humming like they should be without being altered to fit a chromatic scale that you can play in any key. So I noticed that all the numbers were like E flat was 153, and it's like, hey, that's in the Bible, and now we know it's the key number in the Vesica. And your E's were 81, and the D's were 9 and 144, and you suddenly got into a whole world of sacred number, and they all sounded very nice. So I do have some tuning bowls there, which are tuned to. I'll give you a little warm up with these. I won't do them loud because they do go very loud.
Michael, can I stop you there and just ask you a question? Something I learned when I was a kid, the rule of 9, and adding up the 9 times table with your hands, like,
Oh yeah.
remove 1,
Yeah.
there's 9.
Yeah, it's all lovely, yeah.
Is that kind of got a relationship to what you're talking
Anything to
about?
do with
and you-
number 9 has got a relationship, yeah.
Yeah, with
It's all
your
about 9.
8 knuckles, 2 thumb knuckles, so the 82, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I haven't done it like that, but that's interesting. Yeah. So Jamie's, big number is his birthday, which is the 28th of August, which translates as 288, which you can play in hertz. So this bowl here should be 288 hertz. So I have to add bits of water to get it bang on the money. So it's near up 288 at the moment. And that's also what connects Jamie and I, because it's my dad's birthday, and it's also, he died on his birthday, the 20th of August. So there's a big kind of like soul kind of connection thing going on here where the odds are very high. So this is 288, and this one here is like it's like a 324, which is E. It's an octave of 162 and 81. But all these bowls, they're full of overtones. So the biggest overtone is the lower octave. So you're hearing a load of octaves, and you're actually hearing the whole shower of overtones. But all these overtones, because they're coming from root digit 9 bowls, they don't interfere and create beat frequencies. When they're really in tune, they just make one big hum, and it sounds like a kind of planetary hum. So this is a D, this is an E. This is a pokey one because this is F, which is kind of 171, or it's 342. So you've got 324 and 342. So they're just the same numbers shifting around a bit, which is what it's all about. And on the bottom here, usually a C is 64 hertz, but this one is a low C. It's a harmonic coming off one of these. So they all kind of harmonize. So this one's 126, which is a bit like 126 and, oh, hang on. Well, anyway, yeah, you see them, but I'll play them for you quickly. So we'll start with the 288 or the 144. This is a 432 tuning fork.
Did you just hold that near it, or did you touch it?
I touched it on the table to use the table as a soundboard.
Yeah, and that picked up the rhythm.
Like also solfeggio or something like that.
It's not solfeggio,
Mm.
because solfeggio numbers aren't all root digit 9.
Oh.
3, 6, 7.
Yeah, so that's a kind of like the kind of sound of creation in a way, because these are the basic numbers that kind of form, the hexagons and so forth. Okay, so this is a little kind of taster of what I've been up to, I guess. So have a quick look at the Tower of Time, for those who haven't seen it. And this is it's got me more interested in time, because I never knew that the cube seal was about time, but I'm beginning to look at this as like a time machine a bit now. But this is the first little quick story about time. So this is 9 cubes from 1 to 9, all nested within each other. But I looked at each cell in here. So this is the 9 by 9 by 9 cube. It has 729 cells in it, or units, or numbers. 9 times 9 times 9 is 729. But you can equate these to years in the Tower of Time, because in this like dream time that we're in this dimension, we began measuring our years at the year zero with the kind of birth of Christ, and then so this is kind of when Christ was born. When we start with this is zero. This is only just like for entertainment purposes, and it's nothing you should eat or anything or ingest. Just,
Can we try this at home?
No, I wouldn't try it at home. Yes, this took us to the year 729. So I look at our consciousness as we lived through this cube, dictating how our years unfold, as a very slow time when we had a lot of time to kind of adapt and just think about things for endless hours and just sit in fields and listen to birds singing and go for long walks and sit there watching your sheep. So not a lot.
You're watching the sheep.
Well, whatever we did between 0 AD, we had to put up with the Romans, I suppose, for half of this cube, and then they left, and we forgot how to make pottery. And it all goes. It's all a bit mysterious, that period.
And
Dark
there's piles
Ages.
of gold all around the place as well. They threw their money away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you find how the Roman coins are dated.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just call it the cube of leisure. So the distinct cycle of time from the nineliness just gave us a lot of time to develop our minds to a certain level where we were ready or not for the 8 by 8 by 8 cube to descend. I've actually got a little engraving which kind of sums up what I'm trying to do with my hands.
Was the first box a 9 by 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an engraving of a cube kind of descending. I'm not sure where I found it, but this is what you can have in your minds when the number 8 cube comes tumbling down and sits on top of the year 729 and says, "Hello, I'm another 512 years being 8 cubed." So this took us to the year 1241, by the time of which, the Masons were busy, building all these cathedrals, like almost finishing them, or they had a lot of cathedrals to build in a very short time, but somehow they managed it. By 1241, Glastonbury Abbey was half rebuilt, and we had all these, sonic masterpieces beyond, mind and matter in a way. So I look at this as the kind of cube where we got it together to really nail our nails. I was going to say nail our shit. to make our beautiful cathedrals. And then the next distinct cycle of time comes from the number 7, and this is just 343 years. So we're having to kind of less leisure, a bit more action as we go through these shorter cycles of time where our consciousness has to deal with this certain amount of evolution or preparation for the next cube. So we've still got plenty of time here, 343 years. Added that to 1241 and it comes to the glorious year of 1584, which is those beautiful numbers 1584 or 51.84 if you're talking about the Great Pyramid, but 1584. And so this is when you're banging the Renaissance and everything's exploding, ideas, language, and you can pretty much sail anywhere in the world now. And you had the beginning of the Secret Service. It was basically John Dee kind of introduced the beginning of the kind of modern era, I suppose, around this 1584. We were in a different mindset by then. We had flowered. The Renaissance was, in Italy it was around here, but we're well flowered by here. So, leisure, cathedrals, and then we've got ships go anywhere in the world. And the next cube, things are hurrying up a little bit here with the 6 by 6 by 6, 216 years. Took us from 1584 to 1800, when we suddenly had the age of steam, and things were really starting to, we had to get places faster, and things were beginning to speed up a little. And so it was also like the formation of the United Kingdom. There was a lot of political you look at these specific years, and they're very tasty. Like 1584, you could probably go into a lot of detail of exactly what was happening then. And again, with this year 1800, it was a very kind of powerful year with Napoleon and a lot of stuff happening pretty quickly. But I'd say let's just say you have trains, and you've got the Industrial Revolution, and everyone having to move to cities. Apparently, I don't know. But the 5Q, 125 years, and that sits on top of 1800, taking us to 1925, and you can see how things are really kicking off now with aeroplanes and motor cars and radios and the Roaring Twenties and the financial crashes and the aftermaths of the First World War and so forth. So here we have like planes. You can really get around now. Leisure. We'll call it horse and cart or something. Abbeys, cathedrals, ships going anywhere, trains going anywhere. Now we can get planes and motor cars. And then the 4x4x4 cube, 64 years. That takes us to the year 1989, which many of us can remember. I was in San Francisco during the earthquake, so that was a really big event in my life in 1989. And there were people in Berlin, pushing down the Berlin Wall, and there were people in Tiananmen Square, fighting for their freedoms. And there was the first episode of the Simpsons, which Jamie calls the simulations or whatever. But yeah, the Simpsons, a lot of things. But of course, you had probably the birth of the internet in 1989, and possibly the year that people really started hearing about cell phones, in America, around 1989. So it was another technological important year. And so you could say we can introduce the internet here. The 3x3x3 cube is just 27 years, took us to 2016. So now we've got the internet's got a little bit out of hand, and we're starting to become slaves to the internet. And we can't live without it. And it's really embedded itself by now. 2016, was also Trumpy pants, and the full English Brexit, which we all love. And there was a lot of other things in 2016. What else?
I moved to Wales in 2016.
You are?
I moved from Glastonbury to Wales.
Oh, right, okay. All right, there we are, yeah. Big world event. Anyway, I should not joke, because now we're just coming to the end of this 2x2x2 cube of 8 years. We come to the end of that in 2024. And all the convidi covacy thing, as my mother called it, and my auntie, they both said, "We don't believe in that Covis." They're really old people. Mum's actually here no more, but so the 2x2x2 cube, 8 years. So we went through 2020 in the middle of that, where they reintroduced the new £20 note on the 20th of February, and it has 20s written all over it. You can't count the amount of 20s is written on a £20 note. So they're all kind of like rubbing our noses in it, really. So 2024 is when we can expect the next layer of technology, which we're kind of expecting anyway, aren't we? Those jet backpacks that apparently they're going to have in B&Q.
It's obviously AI, 2024 has obviously got AI on it.
Yeah, they might try and project big spaceships onto the chemtrails or something, and all that kind of stuff. They might use some big fake display.
Blue beam.
But also together with frequencies that will make our minds think it's real, and there could be all that kind of stuff. So but I think if we all stick together, it's not going to touch us.
CBDCs are the other one.
Yeah, digital currency.
Can I just mention and ask if Jamie will butt in here as well? Every stage is one step up.
Yeah, and time gets faster and faster.
But it's what I mean is every stage is there's one difference, like.
Yes, just one.
So
just one
that's
difference. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then finally the one cube, which we don't even know if this exists really, because does one exist or not?
Well, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
where we've got to figure out. where it
So
comes
something big is going to happen in our lives within the next like year and a bit,
from. 2026.
because we're going to smash through the top of this thing,
Mm.
and that's a big thing for us. So
Be very positive.
yeah, the numbers 1 to 9, we can't escape them because the even numbers 2, 4, 6, 8 add up to 20, and the odd numbers add up 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 add up to 25. So we see 20, 25 there. Of course, the numbers 1 to 9 add up to 45. 45 squared is also 20, 25. So these numbers 1 to 9, they keep producing this limitation of this number 20, 25. And I know it doesn't mean anything the way we measure time, but what means anything anyway? So that's the Tower of Time, folks.
Mm.
Question.
Yeah.